Well, hi there. I'm Michael Martinez. I'm the president of Reflective Dynamics and the principal author of SEO Theory, and I'm here with Kent Yunk from Roaring Pajamas SEO.
Hello, Michael. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. And how are you?
I'm very good. It's sunny and I'd say about 65 degrees here in Northern California, so
It's
pleasant and nice.
it's been kind of warm here in Georgia too, so that's a pleasant break from winter. I know we'll all pay for it down the road, but for now, I'm enjoying it. I'm a believer in the global warming trend, so uh,
So,
it's not good that things are warming up.
so we have something to look forward to or not?
Well, either way, something's going to happen, so we might as well look forward to something happening, right?
How many feet are you above sea level? Just out of curiosity.
Oh, I'm like 1,200 feet above sea level. I don't have to worry about being flooded.
Yeah, I'm probably 75 feet above sea level, so there is some concern. Plus,
So,
I'm close to a water source.
uh, I saw a headline. I didn't have a chance to look at the article, but I saw a headline that said that the land is absorbing some of the rising seawater, which that's good because it means that coastal cities won't be flooded quite as quickly, but it's also bad because it means that the freshwater tables near the coasts are probably becoming salinated. And
Right.
so we'll need more desalination technologies pretty soon.
Mhm.
So,
Well, it'll
well,
be interesting to see what it does to groundwater in those areas. I know Florida is particularly being punished by saltwater intrusion into the aquifer. So
yeah.
see what happens.
So you wanted to talk about links today.
Hmm.
Naughty links.
Yeah, I sent you a link. We've got a customer that um, has a lot fewer links than a competitor, but way more linking domains than the competitor. So what's happening is that there are a number of sites that this competitor is getting links from that certainly bumps up the total number of inbound links. But those links are not, because they're basically coming from the same site, they're not as, I don't think they're as high quality because they're basically on every page. And so
So you
my,
mean
my
so you mean they're getting site-wide links?
pretty much, yes.
Okay. Well, I'll concur that site-wide links are probably not um, the best possible links that you could get from a website. We've seen some comments from Googlers through the years where they say they might downplay the viability of such links. They don't
Mhm.
necessarily discount everything. They might just arbitrarily count a small number of those links. Um, I personally, I think the web marketing groups, industries, whoever web marketers do it wrong largely. They try to get one link per domain. That's their
Mhm.
KPI. Now, here's a domain. I'll get a link from it and move on. And that's a pretty nasty spam pattern because in a natural linking relationship where someone is linking to something they actually like, if they're doing, the search engines take the position that links are endorsements. It's not always true. Links were not never designed to be endorsements. They were designed to be references. But you're going to reference things that you know about, and whether you like them or not, you're still going to link to them. And so you tend to link to the same stuff over and over again. So in a natural linking relationship, there should be multiple links coming from one site to another. It's going to vary by website. And I'm not talking about site-wide links. In a typical blog to blog relationship, if one blog writer is really impressed with another blog writer's content, he's going to be constantly linking to the articles on it. And you see this all the time in the web marketing sphere. People link to the blogs that they like. So and so wrote an article, and I thought it was great, and here are my thoughts on it, and things like that. That's natural. But when people start organizing, link acquisition, they just go out and get one link per domain, which is it creates a huge footprint of unbelievable artificiality, in
Mhm.
my humble opinion. So uh, I think that I mean, there are sites that link to some of my sites with site-wide links. I don't know why they do it unless they're using blog rules. And I don't worry about site-wide links, but I don't assume those site-wide links are, giving me all this great value or anything like that. It's really up to the search engine to decide how many of those links to trust, how much to trust them.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but if you look at the link testing tools, right, they go out and figure out how many links one domain has over another one. It certainly can skew the total count of inbound links in a way that may or may not be indicative of one site being having more authority per se than the other one, right?
Yeah, it does complicate the reporting issue. I mean, it complicates reporting and it complicates analysis, and reporting and analysis are separate. And so, generally in the link reports that we pull, all the links are organized one linking page at a time. If there are 3 links on a page to the same destination, we only see one line item in these reports. But so, if you got a 20,000 page website and it's done a site-wide link to another website,
mm-hmm.
should your reporting tool include all 20,000 links, or should it summarize those 20,000 links and just like footnote it and say there's 19,000 other links here? And then the estimates of how much anchor text are you receiving? If you're counting anchor text instances, should you count that as one, or as all 20,000, or should you assume some sort of a sliding scale or something like that? And I don't think that there's any way that anybody can really figure that out. On the other hand, there are a lot of SEO case studies where people will say you should only count one link from a domain. And if you have a domain that passes 3 links to 3 different destinations on your website, which of those links do you think is the most important, and why don't you think the other 2 are important? So there's a huge disconnect between what's really going on the linking web and what the web marketing community is trying to measure. And I don't mean to imply that the web marketing community is not smart enough to measure it. Well, I mean, technically we're not, but it's not because everybody's stupid. It's because it's not a simple measurement.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do think, however, that some of the worst possible assumptions have been made. People are trying to err on the side of caution, and that is not the way a linking system works. You don't assume one connection between 2 groups of nodes. So I'm not sure how much further to take that thought.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think you make a really good point. I think what all of us as marketers try to do is we try to unravel the algorithm for what yields the greatest amount of value. So, and there are a bunch of schools of thought on that. Some things work for one site, they don't work for another site, because we really don't have the capability of not able to understand the algorithm itself, and really understand how, if you just focus on one metric in terms of how it affects your site, it may or may not be indicative of causation, right? So,
right.
It's the whole thing that people are saying all the time, which is correlation does not necessarily indicate causation. And when you see sites that have higher number of total links with fewer domains pointing to them, because they have a bunch of sites, a good portion of sites that have site-wide links, that may not be a good way to look at them as a competitor, even though they're ranking slightly above your site.
Yeah, I mean, especially since links are not the only signal that is used to determine rankings.
Correct.
And that complicates things a lot, because if you don't have any way to filter those signals out of whatever data you're looking at, which in this case is just rankings, you you have no way to determine how important any one signal is. And so that, I mean, that's a common problem that a lot of people are trying to solve. And as you mentioned, there are different approaches to doing that. But going beyond the, how many links do you count per domain question, there's also the what is the quality of the link, which the link that you showed me earlier this week was on a website that I think we would both agree was not written very well. Um, but just because a website is not well written doesn't mean it's a low quality website in terms of what the search algorithm is looking for. So there are many websites that we can all easily agree are low quality websites. But just because we don't like them doesn't mean that they are violating search engine algorithms. And that's really what we're looking for as analysts. We're looking for the links that the algorithms are more than likely going to determine are violating the guidelines.
Correct.
And so I think people have this wrong idea in their heads that, well, if the website is poorly written and poorly designed and just everything's poor, therefore it must be spam, and therefore the search engine is going to object to it. And the search engine doesn't work that way. I can give you an easy example. Google has publicly announced on a few occasions that they were penalizing news websites for selling links. And most of these news websites were, they have editors and they have developers, and they try to use polished designs. They're just trying to pick up some extra money by selling links. So you have well-written content on well-designed websites that is being penalized for selling links. Those are low-quality websites according to the link evaluation algorithms. So if you can't take that into consideration, that what people would consider to be high-quality content is still low quality in terms of the links that it's providing, your analysis of somebody's backlink profile is very questionable. So that's just one example of bad linking.
Well, and when Google announces something like that, I mean, how big is that subset, right? So they're going to penalize all the news websites. What is that? A couple of hundred sites? 1,000 maybe?
Something like that, I guess.
So it sounds like a manual penalty, doesn't it?
Well, the occasions that I'm aware of, they were manual penalties. What are the algorithms doing now? I don't know, to be honest. But we'll take the press release question. Google has been telling people for years, don't depend on links from press releases. And then a year or two ago, somebody ran a bad SEO experiment where he got anchor text to pass to Matt Cutt's blog from a press release on a press release site. And even Danny Sullivan was going, hey, Google, here we're passing anchor text, and yet Matt Cutts is still saying that this isn't helping. And I tried to point out in the comments on Search Engine Land that just because a link passes anchor text doesn't mean that it's going to help with rankings. That's, there's a disconnect there too. Anchor text, as I have often said, and I may be the person who has said it the most, anchor text is the only reliable indicator of whether a link is passing value. But outside of somebody who's got access to the search engine data, but that doesn't guarantee that value is going to be used to determine rankings, because the search engine can cap it off for any reason whatsoever. They can just suck the page rank right out of a website. Sure, you get the anchor text. You can run the little unique anchor text test where you see the linking website and the destination website, but the destination website doesn't rank for squat because it's under a penalty, or Panda or Penguin or whatever has downgraded it, which is the same as a penalty. It's just not a manual penalty. And so it doesn't guarantee anything if you can get anchor text to pass. That just complicates things for us too, because if you're doing a backlink audit and you see that you've got unique anchor text there, which you rarely do in spammy situations, to be honest, but if you have unique anchor text there, you type in the unique anchor text, and lo and behold, here comes the destination. The anchor text is being passed. but is it helping? And that's not something that you can determine from those kinds of tests, in my personal experience.
Good point. Well, and I think to that point, if someone wants to do outreach for linking purposes, it's challenging because you want to make sure that you're linking, you're capturing a link from a good quality site. You obviously want to have good content around it because you want that page to be valuable and to rank well for whatever it ranks for, so that you drive traffic, not just link juice.
Yeah.
So maybe you could share some of your ideas about how to acquire and evaluate link opportunities.
Well, the client campaigns where we've had the best success were the campaigns where we told the client, don't worry about the anchor text. Let the writers, let the bloggers link to your website however they want to link to it. Whether they're using the words and here and this, or click here, or they're using the title of the article, don't fuss over it. Just let them link to your website and pass that page rank and that trust. And those campaigns do very well. Especially, if the blogger is somebody who you can just reach out to them and say, here's something I think you'd like. What do you think of it? He goes, hey, I like that. And he writes something about it. Then great. If it's somebody that owes you a favor, and you say, would you mind linking to this website? Then if you leave them some leeway, they feel a little more comfortable doing that. And if you're writing content for the client, say you've got a client with a microsite network, and this is a really delicate strategy because people are just so afraid to interlink their websites. But when we can get people to agree to this, we'll say, we'll write the content for you. We'll show you how we do it. You write an article that is very focused on a specific topic that is relevant to whatever, the main site is. And you deep link into whatever it is that you want to make a point about, and you just use it as a referential link. You don't get a whole lot of linking opportunities like that, but you should do that. Right? I mean, if a client has 5 or 6 websites, it makes no sense to not interlink them to a certain extent. I interlink my own personal websites. Mm-hmm. I do it openly. I do it with sidebar links and links between articles and about pages, and I've talked about it openly, and I've never gotten a manual action for this. The search engines have often said, we don't mind 5 or 6 sites doing these kinds of links because it's natural. It's good for the visitors. It explains who you are and what you do, and we're just trying to help people sculpt that kind of a visibility, for their web networks, their legitimate web networks. Now, if you got 500 blogs or something like that, I don't think you ought to use all those blogs to link to one website. It's kind of crazy. Of course, that's what spammers are doing, and that's a high risk thing. It's just, once you get to a certain point where okay, I'm debating internally whether I should share some of our own data. I guess I will. So when you get to a point where a website has like 50 to 100 articles on it, and is earning legitimate traffic from the long tail queries or whatever it is, it tends to attract natural links. Okay, I don't want to say that there's a magic number of 50 to 100. We have websites with like 60 articles on them that outperform websites with 70 articles on them. So it varies by topic, it varies by website. And but the consistent factor is that when you have a substantial body of really good content that is interesting, and my interesting test has been the same for years. Do I cringe when I go back and look at that article 2 years later? If I cringe, I might rewrite the article, or I might downgrade it a little bit on the website if I have the ability. Randy will just pull an article off a website. If he looks at an article he's written 2 or 3 years ago and he doesn't feel comfortable with it, he just yanks it. That's gone.
Sure.
So, we test the quality of our own content on the basis of how interesting we find it 2 or 3 years later. And that kind of stuff tends to attract links. So people who have the luxury of waiting can just focus on creating content that they think is useful, that they want to use in the future. And that stuff is going to eventually attract links once the website gets past a certain threshold in terms of earning natural search referral traffic, because random people are finding the site and some of them just link to it. And we've gotten some absolutely fantastic links. I mean, we've gotten links from non governmental organizations, and links from science websites, and links from some big commercial blogs, and tons of links from little guys that write 6 posts a year, links from forums. It just the number of links that you can earn once you have a lot of content on your website is pretty substantial. And the problem has always been to get customers to the point where they have that useful content on their websites, that much useful content. That's really hard to do for a lot of people.
Well, and when you say hard, you mean generating that much content.
That much useful content.
Yeah, it's very challenging. But I mean, it goes back to the trend. A lot of people are talking about how SEO really is content marketing, and I'm not sure that I buy that per se. But
no, I don't.
But I think a valuable component of any SEO campaign can be growing content for subject matter that target audience really cares about. Certainly is part of I think a much more complex puzzle.
Yeah, one of my old bosses, Jim Weber, used to say, you only have 2 things to work with: links and content. And so you want the best damn links you can get, and you want the best damn content that you can produce. It's easy to produce content. It's not easy to produce content that's useful 2 years into the future.
True story.
And one of the things about content production is that people make the mistake of banking on that one article, that one fact page, or it's got to be this one thing. This is going to be our big thing. If nobody knows about you, that one big thing might be big in 5 years, because it's going to take that long for it to be seen by enough people to get enough references. And so these guys that are writing these 5,000 word long articles are shooting themselves in the foot. Someone like Neil Patel can do that because he's already got hundreds of thousands of readers. Someone who's just getting into the industry absolutely should not be doing anything like that, because nobody's going to see the content. It's going to take a long time for it to attract enough long tail traffic to build up a reputation that people will start to trust it and link to it. And it's better to be consistent about producing good, informative, non-seasonal content that teaches people by repetition to come back to your website. If they keep coming back to your website because you're producing something new every week, they're eventually going to be referring to you on other websites. This is my favorite X and X website. This is one of my top 5 X and X websites. There are other ways to get those kinds of references. You can go speak at conferences. There are a lot of conference presenters who are often named in top 10 or top 20, marketing blogger articles. And most of what they write is crap. It's just effluvium. It doesn't stand the test of time. A lot of what they write isn't even interesting in 6 months.
I believe that.
And yet they get on, they're mentioned in these lists because they are doing presentations. They're putting themselves out there in front of people. Their real content isn't what's on their blogs. It's what they are doing on a regular basis to promote themselves as people. And they don't really understand that. If they did, they might publish transcripts of their presentations on their blogs or something like that. But the secret is to be consistent. So when I say that we have websites with 60 to 100 articles that are getting tons of traffic and people are linking to them. It's not that we published 60 articles at a time. It's that we published consistently over time. A lot of these websites are afterthoughts for us. We have quite a few websites that 2 years ago were getting no traffic. Randy especially was always good about buying domain names that he thought would be cool websites and then doing nothing with them. And every now and then I go dig into the inventory and I go, well, what about this? And he goes, yeah, I think we could do this. And we'll kick around some ideas and then I'll just gradually add to the site over time. He does the same thing too. He has certain topics he likes, and he'll go in and tinker with a website and add something every couple of months. And in a couple of years, the websites, they started producing quite a bit of traffic. And we have the luxury to do that because we're doing passive income, or we're using these sites for experiments and things like that. We understand that these are not production websites. This is not somebody's business. This is just stuff where we can do the same thing over and over again so that we can see that it still works.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it's like I say, you said it takes time to build content, to regularly post, and to capture that kind of traffic and that kind of attention, and certainly links over time. Non-trivial. Just it's just plugging along. It's in some cases I use the reference of it's kind of like rock breaking work, right?
Yeah. When it comes to link building, I try to remember a lesson that I learned when I was a teenager. I was involved in a direct sales organization, and we sold soap, house cleaning products, but I concentrated on commercial accounts. And one of the leaders of our sales group had this old customer that she kept trying to pass off to other people because he bought something small every month or something like that. So every time she would mentor a young new member of the group, she would say, go over here and sell this guy. He buys our product all the time. Just go sell him a gallon of soap. And whoever it was would go over there and try to sell him a gallon of soap, and he wouldn't buy. And so she'd go buy on a monthly basis, and she'd sell him her gallon of soap. And she finally said, why is it that every time I send somebody over here, you don't buy soap from them, but you'll buy it from me the next day? And he goes, because you shoot the shit. And in the South, that made a lot of difference in the old Georgia South. To do a business deal properly, you had to spend time talking to the other guy and listening to him. And, it was all about stuff that had nothing to do with whatever the business deal was. And eventually you get around to the good old boy moment where they're going to buy from you and you close the deal and everybody's happy. And then you've got a customer. As long as you keep greasing that wheel, it's going to keep turning. In outreach to bloggers, if you know people, okay, if you get to know people and you take the time to shoot the shit with them, they like you and they trust you. And so that's an old school sales technique that still works when it comes to doing link outreach. But of course, companies are pressuring their link teams. You managed a link team for Quinn Street, and
I did.
The higher ups were holding your lower downs to some pretty severe numbers. Get out there and make the contacts. What was it, 100 a week or something like that? Some ungodly number, and there was just no chance of building a relationship. And this is why I've really never wanted to manage link teams, because I know that people have unreasonable expectations for them. To do it right, you really want to have a sales relationship where you get to know that person. You are selling the linking destination to the linker.
Well, and the funny part was our most successful campaign was where we were using Copyscape to find people who were plagiarizing our content and getting links from those articles.
Absolutely, because they were already they were in a relationship. They may not have wanted to be deeper into it, but they were kind of stuck, because by this point the content's on their website. You got two choices: take it down or put up a link. And of course, that was a tactic that was very popular for a while. I don't think people do a whole lot of copying anymore. least not without permission.
Mhm.
But having a relationship of some sort, even if it's a sordid relationship where they're stealing your content, that's a big difference. It really does. That's a form of shooting the shit with
Mhm.
somebody.
Yep.
And what I found is that if I shoot the shit with you through my blog, I can cut out a lot of the outreach. If I just, I have what people call a conversational tone in my articles. And it's funny. This is a question that came up in a forum not too long ago. Somebody goes,
Mhm.
"How do you write conversational?" or something like. I don't remember exactly how he worded it, but I said, just imagine that you're sitting down at a table in your kitchen. It's a cold winter night, and you're there with a friend, and you're just talking about something that you care about. It's an all night conversation, something that you two just get into deeply and intensely. Your blog post is your half of that conversation, and the other half of that conversation is going to be that guy's blog post. And
Mhm.
if you do that enough, somebody out there is going to link to you because you care enough about whatever it is that you're saying to make it interesting. They're going to be interested, so to speak.
I agree. I agree. Um, that is really great feedback, and I really appreciate your perspective on it because I think a lot of people they don't know how to start, right? I should really sit down and write a blog article, but they're immediately when they, open Word and they're looking at the blank screen, they're like, oh, what do I write about? And so I think that's a really great suggestion about how to sort of start the process of creating that blog article.
I think that's called the writer's wall, where you're looking at the blank page,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like staring at this wall in front of you. Oh my God, how do I break through this wall? How do I take this blank page and turn it into something interesting? And it's there are writing advice books and columns that say just write something and delete the first third or whatever. Once you get
Right.
past that awkward beginning where it's just absolute crap, cut out the crap and leave what's left.
Right.
Whatever remains. And that's a good way to conduct a conversation about links, getting links.
Mm-hmm.
If you can get past that awkward introductory, email. Hi, I'm Michael, and I'm working for so and so, and we've got this article that we think you would really be interested in. I hate those. I hate those emails. It's like get to the point. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the people who in their outreach to me get links from me, where people say, they'll say, Michael, I'm Kent. I work for uh, Blue Rise Technologies,
Mm-hmm.
and we have a problem. We're trying to raise $50,000 for charity. We're not getting there. Do you have any way of helping? I get emails like this all the time. Film producers and book authors. I mean, people are constantly contacting me, telling me I'm just struggling. I've got this project I'm working on. I've invested my whole life in it. Can you help? Sometimes I do. There are some small filmmakers who have publicly credited me for helping them get ahead because I liked what they were doing. They just came right out and said, "I'm a filmmaker. I'm doing this, and I need some help." And giving that person who has the power to link to you a reason to help you
Mm-hmm.
is a good way to get the link. Of course, you have to be doing something that they want to help with. Uh,
Right.
that's important. Um, the idea of just going to a random stranger and saying, I'm writing a blog about credit cards, can you help me with the search results? I don't think that's going to work too well. But I'm trying to get the word out about changes in credit card law, and I think your readers, you write about financial stuff. I think your readers really would benefit from knowing about this, and I don't know how to reach them. Can you help me out here? I think an honest, legitimate, sincere request for help works more
Mm-hmm.
often than not, more often than a lot of other stuff.
Yeah, I think I just had a conversation with somebody who's looking for suggestions about how to how to at least make the approach. And I think that's very similar to the, obviously I said it differently, but I think I got the same point across, which was, you got to come across conversational. You got to come across as being sincere and really caring about, what they have to say and what the value that they can drive, and show that you've actually taken the time to look at what they've done, and the fact that they're experts in whatever.
Yeah.
It makes such a difference.
It's like door-to-door sales. I've done door-to-door sales more than once. I was trained in it, both for, well, I wasn't trained in it for residential. They just put me on the street and sent me out down the street. But I did have some training with commercial door-to-door sales. And you stand outside that door and you have to work up the nerve to go inside and start a conversation with somebody. And you're nervous and you talk fast and you stutter and you hem and haw and you make every mistake in the book. And what people in the sales industry learn, the ones that stick, are that you just burn through a certain number of early contacts till you get past the point where you're no longer uncomfortable. It's like, okay, here's another door. I know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go in and do it. And you become more familiar with what you want to say so that you do actually say it rather than stand around trying to remember what you're trying to say. It just takes practice. And unfortunately, if you're going to do link outreach, that takes practice too.
Yep. Yeah, I did commercial printing sales many years ago, and probably took me 4 or 5 months to really get my style together, and have all of those early contacts sort of yield fruit. But after that first 6 months, it really started to grow. So
yeah, 6 months, that's about right. Well, we've gone a little over 30 minutes. I know there's a lot more we could say about linking, but we'll see how people like this video. And maybe we'll do some more link discussions in the next couple of weeks. Does that sound okay?
it sounds great.
All right. Well, I hope you have a good weekend.
You do the same. It's been good. Always a pleasure to connect with you and talk through these issues and get your perspective.
Thank you. And I enjoyed talking with you. And in fact, I wish we could bring up more stuff that you and I've done in the past. Maybe we can do a little bit of that too. But for now, folks, this is goodbye. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next week.